This is MacVoices TV. The Take Control ebook series are media sponsors of MacVoices TV. Visit them at takecontrolbooks.com.
All right, so now how about a little Photoshop? Thank you. I will do that now. You're good. All right, let's take a look at Photoshop. And Dave mentioned something earlier that I'm going to expound on because we don't have to wait for Snow Leopard for this one. People don't want a more complex Photoshop. They want an easier, faster one. So one of the things we did with Photoshop CS4 to make it faster was to take advantage of a processor you have sitting in your computer that most of the time isn't doing anything. It's called the graphics processor, the GPU, the one that's sitting on your graphics card that if you're playing a 3D game is very busy, but if you're just doing page layout, it's really not doing a whole lot. And if you're doing a lot of stuff in Photoshop, typically it's not doing a whole lot. So the GPU support we've added in Photoshop CS4 really speeds things up across the board. Now, I used to use, I had a previous MacBook Pro that was like 3 generations old or 4 generations old. And when I installed CS4 on it, everything was faster on my older computer. When have you ever been able to say that with any upgrade of anything? Okay? It was actually, CS4 ran faster on my older computer than CS3 did. And again, that's because of the GPU support. So, for example, to demonstrate some of this, oh, and by the way, you notice I'm zoomed in at 16.67%? Well, if anyone knows anything about technical use of Photoshop, you'll know that nothing really looks good unless it's at an even percentage, 25%, 50%, 100%, whatever. That's when text looks, so when it's zoomed at those odd percentages like 33.3 or 57% or whatever, you'd have to zoom it to the next nearest good number in order for it to look good. Well, now that all goes away in CS4. I can zoom in to any percentage, and this all looks good. As a matter of fact, if I grab my hand tool, I can flick it, just like on an iPhone, and work with those large files, and everything looks good. Look at that. I'm at 100%. Let's zoom in some more. I'm at 200%, 300%. I'm at that odd size, 33.33%, and it all looks good. Now, I showed you the rotate canvas feature inside of, or rotate spread feature inside of InDesign. Well, Photoshop's not going to leave you hanging either. It's got a rotate canvas feature that really takes advantage of your graphics processor and speed. So, and there's no clear rotation, but it took me a while to realize that north is the red arrow, and that will put you back to where you need to be. All right, so that's a little bit on performance. So this is not a very large file, but even on large files, I get that same kind of performance because of the GPU support. All right, let's talk about sharing. How many of you went to the keynote or saw the keynote? Okay, and one of the things that I kind of chuckled about was when Phil was talking about the iWork.com site and being able to share stuff back and forth. Well, the reason I chuckled, Dave and I both looked at each other, we just laughed, because Adobe last year introduced Acrobat.com that does the same thing for free. Okay? Not with iWork documents, obviously, but with the ability to create what's called a buzzword document and have multiple people collaborate on it online for free. The ability to share files back and forth online for free. And so we just laugh because it's like if another company does it, they're innovative. And if we've been doing it for years, well, we're just doing what we're supposed to. All right, so anyway, I won't go any further on that. But let's talk about sharing from a different perspective. And this is not something they're doing, at least not in iWork.com. Well, we've been sharing documents for years with a universal format called PDF. And it's great. You make a PDF of any document, no matter what you created it in, send that PDF to anybody, and pretty much anybody today can read that PDF and open it up. And over the years with Acrobat, we've added multiple capabilities for doing comments back and forth and doing shared reviews, and I've shown a lot of that over the years. But nothing beats real time when you're in a crunch. Meaning, I don't have time to wait even for me to put in PDF together, send it to you, and wait for you to respond. I need you to look at this right now. Let me know if it's okay. I got to go to press in 10 minutes. Do you approve or not? So we've had Macromedia now under our wing for what, 3 years now?
Yeah, about 3.
3 years. Macromedia had a technology that wasn't too well known. They called it Breeze. We have renamed and rebranded that technology called Acrobat Connect. And for some of the user groups out there, I've even done Connect sessions for you remotely and showed you Adobe products. Well, Connect is a business service. It's designed for companies to share screens back and forth. But what about the rest of us? What about the little design shop that's 2 people that they make their bread and butter off their work and they don't have a multi-million-dollar IT budget? What about the designer that works from home that doesn't have any of that ability to do any of that? Well, we launched a service that is now called Acrobat Connect Now. And it is also free of charge. And the reason I asked you to remind me to show you share here is because even though that service, and let me make this clear, has nothing to do with CS4 and doesn't cost a dime, it is integrated into CS4. So, do I need to buy CS4 to use Connect Now? Thank you. All right, because some people will walk out of here saying, wow, that really looks cool, I got to buy CS4. Well, that's actually okay. You say that you got to buy CS4. That's okay. All right, never mind. So, if I go into the File menu, there you will find this. I'm in Photoshop, but I could have done it in Illustrator, could have done it in InDesign, could have done it in any of the CS4 products. You will see a Share My Screen feature. When I do this or launch this, I've already typed in my username and password.
What's your site?
That I went to meet with Terry.
Can I do it this way?
No, it's the, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, you want to show them anyway, I guess, okay.
All right, so that took me to my meeting room, which is, I'm letting Dave in here. It's
connectnow.acrobat.com.
right, and meet with Terry. All right, so Dave's going to pop in a minute, but this is the URL that's static for me for my room with my account, which was free. Once I can either email that URL invitation out to up to 3 people right now, or 2 other people, I should say, and at this point, this is my meeting room. And I can share my screen with anyone on any platform, or I should say Mac or Windows. Or no, I take that back, any platform that runs Flash. So it doesn't have to be just Mac or Windows. So they can see what I'm doing in real time. And it does not have to be an Adobe product. If your life is so boring that you want to show someone Microsoft Word, you could. Okay? Ooh,
Works with the video apps too,
Let's
by
say
the
that
way.
out loud. Okay, anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and say share my computer screen. Are you?
I'm ready to, when you hit that, I'll hit this button so they can see
No, just I want you to see you come in first. All right. So Dave is ready to connect in. Actually, you didn't even have to do that. You just could have gone to the URL. And so Dave doesn't need an account.
And I should mention, I'm on Vista 64 on purpose, so just bear with it, just cross-platform.
All right, so go back to me. So I get a request that says, Dave wants to come into my room, accept or deny. So I'm going to accept him in. And there's Dave Helmley down here in the bottom left. And Dave will see the same thing I'm showing on my screen until I say share my computer screen, which I just click the button in the middle of the screen. And now, in a second or two here,
Yeah, we're both sharing the same Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
There you go.
he will see what I'm doing. This is me moving the mouse around on my screen. So if I go back to Photoshop, I can say, hey Dave, what do you think of this Western Union thing I'm doing in Photoshop right now?
Terry, I don't like the color. Can I take control?
Yes, take control, please. So he's going to ask me for control. You got a message
Yeah, I should have that right.
there. Okay, and I get a message that said, Dave wants to take control of my machine. So I can accept it or not. Now Dave's moving the mouse around on my computer right now. And he can go in and work with it or show me what he wants to do with it interactively, cross-platform, Mac and Windows. Or Mac and Mac, or Windows and Windows.
And I will point out I'm in Safari on Vista 64, which means it's not really like browser picky.
Right. What does Dave need to do this or get in my room?
CS4?
A browser and an, yeah. Yes, he needs CS4, you don't.
No.
He needs a browser with a flash player and the internet connection. That's it.
It's all automatic.
It's all
it does
automatic,
it for
yeah.
you.
There's
It's all in the
nothing
background.
you have to worry about installing. Now, there's one, voice, the whole 9 yards. There's one caveat. If he wants to run the presentation or take control of my screen, then it will prompt him to download a little, very small, like, I don't know, 10, 15K
I've got my webcam up.
add-in, and that will let him have the interface to be able to do all the things that he can do. But if he's just looking at my meeting, doesn't need anything but the web browser. So if he needs to control it, then he downloads the add-in.
So Terry and I can chat back and forth, do cameras back and forth, and all that sort of stuff. I'm good.
So I'm going to cancel his control. So you switch back to me.
Yep.
Which I have the ability to do that. I just canceled his control. I'm no longer being controlled by Dave. That's a good feeling. And right now, anything I would be doing, he would be able to see. So I'm going to go ahead and just cancel out of the sharing. Then that takes me back to the interface. And I still see Dave's camera, so I can start my camera. I also have the ability to do voice over IP right here in the interface. I also have the ability to even have a conference call on a telephone if you don't want to do it through your computer speakers and microphone. And that conference setup is built into the interface. Now, you don't pay for this other than making the phone call. The phone call itself is not free depending on your area code, but that's it. You don't pay any minutes or monthly charges or anything. It is free. All you have to do is make the phone call. So if you have Skype or something that makes phone calls for free, you're all set. All right. That is Acrobat Connect Now, and you can go right now to acrobat.com and set up your own account and start doing this today.
And how many people have an Adobe ID already, like when you go to labs? You're
already
already signed up. You're
right.
done. You
You're
just
signed
enter
up.
with that.
You just enter your Adobe ID on acrobat.com and start using it.
And one of the new features they added a couple of months ago is you can now name your room. It would normally say T. White's room, so now he's changed his room name to where it's Meet with Terry. So you can give it your own name.
Right. Now, also, there's a file sharing pod or capability in the room as well. So if I had a large file that was too big to email and I wanted my meeting participants to download it, I just upload it to the file pod right there in the room. They could click on it and start downloading it right to their computers. So I get screen sharing, voice over IP, webcam, telephone conference if I need it, file sharing, sharing my control of my computer. If you've ever had to do remote troubleshooting, you know what that's like. All in one interface that is completely web-driven with the Flash Player free of charge. Up to 3.
And I'll point out, because we've been using this technology inside of Adobe a lot for years with even customers, and this Connect Now interface that Terry was just showing you, it's so much easier to use interface-wise, I think, than the Pro app, because the Pro app gives you a lot of control over pods and what we're doing and all that. This is very simple and very straightforward.
Okay, how much time do I have, CZ? Not enough?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I got 10 minutes left, so I'm not going to get through half of what I want to show, but but I'm going to be here most of the day, so you could come back and see it if you want. So let me get to two things then. I'll end with 2 to 3 things in Photoshop. First thing, for those of you who are familiar with Camera Raw, so if you work with RAW files or you work with JPEG files in Camera Raw, you know that with every new version of Photoshop, we update Camera Raw as well. Well, Camera Raw an update to Camera Raw isn't just about new cameras. That would be like a dot release. When it's a full version like Camera Raw 5, which we introduced in CS4, it's new features as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this RAW file. And this is the typical kind of challenge you face with digital photography, is that especially when you're shooting landscapes or outside, it's hard to expose for everything. You have this bright sky and these dark shadows underneath the awnings. And you can expose for one, but then you're going to blow out or mess up the other one. And so in this case, it looks like they tried to expose for the sky, and everything else then is dark. So in typical Camera Raw, you would only be able to make an overall adjustment to everything. So I can adjust the exposure to bring out the shadows, but then my sky is going to be gone. It's going to be totally white at that point. Or I can darken the sky, but then everything else is going to get darkened too. Well, in Lightroom 2, we introduced an adjustment brush. And now that adjustment brush, which, by the way, allowed you to do adjustments on specific areas of a photo, that adjustment brush is now in Camera Raw 5 and CS4 as well. So the adjustment brush is located right here on the Camera Raw tools. I'm going to grab it. And I already have my exposure set. I can set any one of these adjustments any way I want. So I'm going to drop the exposure down a little bit on the sky here. Actually, I'll just do it a little bit. And I'm going to come over here and start painting. And it's very subtle. You may not even be able to see it yet on the projector. Okay? Very subtle adjustment. I'll come down here and make the same adjustment down here on the ground. All right, so very subtle, not a lot, not quite what I had in mind just yet. But here's where the magic comes in. See that dot it left behind? Well, that dot lets me know everywhere I painted that adjustment. And now, since I have that adjustment selected, I can continue to make adjustments to that adjustment and dial that in or dial it up any way I want. So I'm looking at your screen because your screen's a little different than mine. So that's one adjustment. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a new one. And I'm going to come over here and adjust it a little bit brighter this time. And we're going to come over here and go in this area. A little subtle adjustment there. A little subtle adjustment here. And I'm not having to worry about making a selection because I also have the ability to auto mask. So it's automatically masking the areas that I'm making my adjustments in. And I can go ahead and dial that up to brighten those areas of the photo. So, whether it's a RAW file or whether it's a JPEG, you can now do this in Photoshop CS4 or Lightroom if you have Lightroom. All right, so I'm going to cancel out of that. You get the idea. That was one of my 3 things. My next thing. Now, we have 2 versions of Photoshop. Everything I've shown you up to now works in both versions, Photoshop CS4 and Photoshop CS4 Extended. Photoshop CS4 Extended works with a few more things like video and 3D and mathematical measurements and architectural stuff and medical stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this 3D object. So now I'm using an extended feature. And this 3D object was done, I don't know, in a program like Maya or something like that. And it looks like just any other Photoshop 2D object until I grab my little panning thing here and I show you that it is in fact 3D. And this was taken at the Adobe Towers that he showed you because I can see the reflection in the top of the car there. All right, while is right. So let's go and go to my views here. Oh, that's not the right view. Let's go back. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put it back on the top there. Just a little bit better right there. Now, why would you do this? Why would you bring 3D into Photoshop? To spin it around. That's entertaining for about 3 seconds. After you spun it around, you say, ooh, ah, ooh, okay, now what? Okay? There are 3D tools. Photoshop doesn't create 3D. It doesn't build this model. You build it in a 3D tool and open it in Photoshop. Why would you do that? Well, the reason you would do that is to do things that Photoshop can do that the 3D tools either can't or can't do as easily. For example, well, we already took a look at Illustrator. We know that Illustrator is a great vector drawing tool that would be great for drawing a logo like that. And so if I go back to my car and kind of position it a little bit better here, it's going to be close enough. Okay, so, all right, no, we'll get it right. There we go. All right, good enough. All right,
Good enough for government
good
work.
enough for this. All right, so now that's just the logo sitting on a layer on top of that. You saw it didn't move when the car moved. The car's 3D, the logo's 2D, done in Illustrator, brought into Photoshop. Well, now that it's there, I can do what I would do in Photoshop. I would go to my layers flyout menu and I would say merge down. Take that layer and merge it down to the object below. Now that object below is still 3D, and now it has a logo on top of it that maintains all the reflections and all the things that you would expect. So that's where 3D becomes interesting inside of Photoshop to do the things that Photoshop does best. Also, for example, something that you weren't able to do before is we'll grab our paintbrush and we'll just start painting. I am painting in 3D. So if I grab my 3D rotation tool again, that paint applied to the metal of the car with all the reflections and all the lighting properties and everything there. That's when it gets exciting to work with 3D inside of Photoshop. All right, one last thing.
And you need CS4 for that?
You need CS4 extended for that. Now, this next thing is not extended. This is in both versions. This is what I'm going to end with to let you know that we are still the leaders in this technology when it comes to blowing people away and giving them more capabilities than they ever had before and making it easy. All right, here's the example. The photo came out of the camera, that size, that dimension, whatever. But my space that I need to put it in InDesign or my ad or my newspaper or whatever is the extra white space on the side. So it needs to be that wide to fit perfectly where I need it to go. Well, if I grab my selection tool and I do a Command T for free transform, well, I can grab a handle and pull it. And now those folks really look like they were on a cruise ship. Okay?
Midnight buffet.
Right, midnight buffet. So, stretching the photo is never an option for me. I never want to see my photo stretched. I never want to see people super wide or super skinny because the photo's been stretched. So what are my other options? Well, if I got time, I start cloning. You got to start cloning the rest of that water and the rest of that sky over to the white area, and good luck making it look real and taking time and doing all that. And believe me, I've spent my hours and I paid my dues doing that kind of work before. Not fun, but that's what you had to do before. So Adobe acquired a technology and put it inside of CS4, and we're calling this technology content-aware scaling. Content-aware scaling allows me to go up to my edit menu. Instead of using free transform, which we already saw what that does, I'll use content aware scale instead. It gives me the same handles. But now, not holding down anything, I'm just going to grab that same right handle and pull it over. Content-aware scaling figures out what's important in the photo and what's not.
Can you go the other way?
Now, and Dave's leading on to the same thing. What if I had to put this on a magazine cover, which is the bigger problem because everything needs to be skinny and tall, and this is a wide landscape photo. Well, if I need to put this on a magazine cover, then I would need it to be more like that, and no problem.
For me, that's where it gets creepy when you're watching what's going on.
Yeah, and you look at the details. The parasail or whatever that is, the parachute or thing didn't change. None of the stuff that was important changed. The boat didn't change. All of the stuff that was unimportant changed. Absolutely. So that is content-aware scaling in both Photoshop CS4 and Photoshop CS4 Extended. So either version.
And for some really good examples of that, Russell Brown has got his session, I think, coming up.
Yes.
Is it 10:30 today? He
Russell
has got some
Brown
amazing.
is going to be giving out 3D DVDs here at 10:30. Russell is amazing when it comes to working in 3D. He's been doing it now for the last 3 years. He's going to show you some cool capabilities. I think you're going to need 3D glasses for seeing some of the stuff he's going to show you at 10:30.
That's the Macworld
We have
collector's item.
time for about 3 or 4 questions. Step up to the mic so we can all hear you. Yeah, you do.
They'll be able to hear me, don't worry. Jerry, Dave, in the Premiere, you're showing us the text search capability.
Yep.
Can that be used for subtitling?
So can speech to text be used for subtitling? So the answer is yes, and then there's the easy part. So there's, yes, you can do it because you can always copy and paste and put them in titling. The problem is there an automatic way? Remember, subtitling, when you take a string of text, you have to decide what's important about what they said. Certainly when you're watching 90 minutes of a presidential debate, right? If you're going to be doing subtitles, you have to decide. So what we're working on right now is a way or a method or a process to make that easy, which you're going to have some sort of closed captioning panel where the text comes up. Maybe there's some automatic ways to do that or not. But you can get the information into a subtitle situation. But we want to see it much easier than that. So that's always the number one question we get. But that's pretty exciting technology, I will say. Question number 2.
Terry, the InDesign conditional text, the first thing I thought of when I saw that is how many newsletter editors are in the audience? Okay. All right, think about how we have to produce 2 copies of our newsletter, one with the codes for the vendor offers for our members, and then the other one that we strip the codes out of for posting on our public website. If we use conditional text, all we have to do is make that codes condition, and then every month, instead of having to go through and dig out and replace those codes with stars or however you do it, all you have to do is use conditional text. So thank you from Music Group.
And since you brought up that great example, you can also search and replace on conditions. It just gets crazy. I mean, it's amazing what you
Great
can do
stuff.
with that.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Question in the back?
Come up to the mic, please. Question is, if I want to go to Connect Now in CS3 or any other app that's not CS4, just go to the browser, go to acrobat.com and log in.
And just use your Adobe ID. Just acrobat.com and tell all your friends.
We just made that feature that already existed on acrobat.com 6 months before CS4 came out a menu option. It's not built in any kind of way. It just launches your browser and takes you to the same URL you could go to yourself.
And you have to start using it just to understand, you'll probably never get any sleep again, because it's worse than like MySpace and you know, instant messaging. Because I can call Terry and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, we're sharing computers, you can have someone, we use it for troubleshooting all the time. When I have a server or something I can't get on, IS doesn't walk me through the pain of getting through the, you know, Macintosh and a Windows environment for networking, they got way too many slashes. I want to click and point and get to where. So I'm just like, you know what, you just take me there. They actually take over my computer, click, click, click. I've got all my servers mounted and I'm done.
I'm going to give you a real world story that happened to me when we didn't have Connect Now for free, but when we had it as our paid version, which is Connect Pro. I had a problem in Windows on my Mac that I couldn't figure out. I logged into my meeting room in Connect Pro, called IT, they logged into the same meeting, actually I logged into their meeting room, and they took control of my computer and fixed it running inside of Parallels on my Mac while I was doing stuff in the background on the Mac side while they were fixing stuff in Parallels.
So think of all the times you guys have to support other people that aren't as up to speed as you are. I use it for my relatives and certainly my mother all the time. She has the Connect page right on her Safari. She just clicks it and I'm in and she's just like, just fix it.
Well, do you want to drive across town and help the person out? Or do you just want to log into a website and help the person out?
Great for other presenters too. Obviously you're trying to get people to your events and just say, well, just use our Connect room.
Now, that's a good point. Although Connect Now is limited to just 3 people in the room, you all saw it, and there's a lot more than 3 of you here. So one user group Connect Now meeting room and the other presenter coming into your room for free can do a presentation to your entire user group sitting in front of your projector.
Yeah.
Think about the possibilities of getting people that could never go to your group any other way. No plane ticket,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. In 2009, there's going to be a lot of
How's the audio?
plane tickets.
Depends on your internet connection.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It comes in well for a big room, I mean, you know.
Well, it's
Yeah.
going to come in through your computer, which is whatever connected to your audio system, just like any other presentation. So that the audio is however you set up your audio.
Have a phone on a speakerphone.
You can either do a phone on a speakerphone, or you can do it through your computer connected to a large sound system. It's up to you.
But we do a lot of these for whether they're partner events. I did a training session for Canon where I'm training the Canon reps on how to use this new AVC HD. All their reps are going out to their camera stores. So I mean, the possibilities are just limitless, so unlimited.
Okay, your Connect Now demonstration showed it going in one direction.
Yep.
But he made polish. What else is that? No, we didn't want that. When we go back to the original. Can you go back to the original, or is everything changed?
Well, it's no different than anything else. If I haven't saved the document, I can undo. I can close it without saving. I can revert. The only difference was instead of him reaching his hand over and working on my keyboard, he did it from his keyboard. The document was still on my computer. If he didn't hit save, I undo everything or close it without saving. There's no other magic behind it. If he had saved, then those changes would be saved.
We have 3 or 4 different designs.
Okay?
We have
Let's say you did 3 or 4 different designs on your own. Are they changed or not? It's the same thing. It's just he did it from his computer versus
keep in mind,
versus me getting out of the way and him doing it on my computer.
I can have made changes to say, Terry, I got better ideas, I think, than what I'm seeing here. Let me show you what I've done. Terry says, okay, you show me your screen, even though I'm in his Connect room.
Save as. New copy.
Yeah. I mean, there's just tons of different ways to do that. So
I mean, it's
goes
no
both
different
ways.
than if you were doing it yourself. What would you do not to overwrite those changes? No.
Yeah, it's not application control. It just uses Flash, and it's just very fast, which is really all we need.
All right.
And 98% of the computers on the internet today can already get into a Connect room because they already have the Flash player.
Oh, and I will tell you one, yeah, it's true, one tech support thing. When you go to upload files So you get 5 gigabytes on the Acrobat.com account for your share, which is awesome. You want to make sure that certain files it doesn't like MP3s, doesn't like movies, AVIs, any of that mess. All you have to do is zip them. Right mouse, click on it, say, you compress the file in the Mac OS, then you can copy them. I think it's more of a legality. We don't want to have to be worried about being an MP3 server site. So just understand if it gives you this file can't be uploaded, then just zip it and then send it up there and you'll be fine, or change the extension. So.
Okay, guys, I want to get to the part that you guys hate at the breakfast. You know,
MacVoices TV is brought to you by Tropical Software, the makers of Top 10 Notes. Check it out at tropic4.com. MacVoices TV is part of the MacVoices Group and a member of Mac Level 10.